Hello, good morning. Welcome to the BoomStartup Virtual Kickoff. My name is Tara Spalding, and I am the Managing Director at Boom. It is my pleasure to be introducing the new Boom programs that we're launching this week. And with no further ado, I'd like to ask you all if this is a familiar feeling to you founders.
Minus X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.
I hope that made you laugh a little bit, maybe cry a little bit inside as well, especially for us who have been at the early stage company where sometimes things are going really well and then we hit a stumbling block that just puts things on pause. Well, that's what BoomStartup is here for you and to resolve. If you're unfamiliar with BoomStartup Accelerator, here is a summary as to when we started and how we got here today. We founded it in 2010, and it started in Salt Lake City, Utah, as basically a SaaS, high-tech oriented accelerator located in a shared space on the Impact Hub near downtown. Over the years, they raised several funds and worked with many well-regarded and some legacy Utah startup companies. In fact, in the mid-2010s is when BoomStartup Accelerator program thought to themselves, we can do a whole bunch more outside of just being created and managed on site, that if we take this program online, it'll expand our opportunities of growth, and it truly was. So in 2017, they made the full commitment to transform from on location to all online perpetual sort of programs, which just flourished the accelerator and the acceptance and participation in itself. Now, in 2019, Assure, the leading provider for SPVs for investments, acquired BoomStartup as an accelerator and as well as a software platform. And in fact, Assure has us running now in two different business groups. I'm the managing director of the accelerator program, and so my focus is to work with the entrepreneurs, the mentors, experts, and sponsors, and most importantly, investor community, and to get things working. And a separate business unit is called Glassboard Technology, and in itself is a software company ran by Rob Kuntz, and it's a SaaS platform that's not only powering the SPVs that Assure creates, but also a component of our accelerator program. So 2020 happened, and what business didn't go for a ride? Ours certainly did. Our funding programs, etc., was all on pause, except for our online accelerator, where we had over 500 participants still sign up and look for help with growing their business during COVID and during the shutdown. Now, at the end of 2020, we had over 3,000 entrepreneurs participating on the online platform. So that definitely proves to its success. And our graduates have raised over 55 million in capital, plus there are over now 100 mentors. So I jump in January of 2021. And my background is by running incubator. And prior to that, I was a serial entrepreneur. So I know the interest and the pains when it comes to launching a company in those stalling moments, as well as what it takes to get funding. And now in 2021, so sorry, everything when people call. All right, Sharon. So in 2021, I came on board and decided that the whole program needed a little bit of a rejigger. First off, we weren't going to do fund management anymore. Secondly, what entrepreneurs needed was much different than what they needed before COVID. And thirdly, and most importantly, early stage investors had a different palette and interest level, as well as expectations as to what startups could and should be doing. So that is why we have reshaped BoomStartup and are introducing 4 new programs. We're here to help break through the barriers that are holding companies back. And we're really looking for companies that are willing to commit with grit. Our program is very different than others, and we're designing it to fix flaws that, in fact, either we have identified or you as the founding team have identified. Now, we serve basically startups located around the world and from any industry and with any business model or maturity. About 72% of the startups that are within the Boom community are pre-revenue, basically, and so they're on the early stage. However, 20% are not. They've earned money, but they got to figure out how to make it better, do it more profitable, etc. And some of them, in fact, are well over 6 figures. The neat part about this, and it's because I believe of our online platform and openness, is that we're getting higher participation in folks that are basically under-resourced, such as the disabled, or those who are ethnic minorities, or female, or marginalized, students and veterans. And these are very important statistics, especially to me, to make sure that, in fact, we're seeing and supporting the startups and the economy in areas that just don't have enough support. Additionally, about 80% are from the United States, however, 20% are not. And even though Boom Startup Accelerator in 2010 and 2012 was really known as a SaaS, EdTech, FinTech, focused accelerator program, it's really bloomed from there. Especially in post-COVID, there are several different segments and sectors that need this sort of business support. Of course, things like travel and hospitality, consumer product goods, marketing and media, medical devices, transportation, all of these, in addition to, of course, like mobile and software and health tech, are all very important to equally substantiate and support. So how are we different than the standard accelerator? First off, our admission process, super duper easy. It's open 24/7, free to join. And those who do join get to view and choose relevant programs that will help their business. Secondly, the timing. These programs are rolling, and the commitments are oftentimes 1 week and up to 4 weeks in the commitment time. So it's super fast. And that in itself is very helpful because we're also expecting quicker results. Additionally, we provide a scorecard immediately, and it's also free. And it suggests improvement areas in business over 7 different topics. And where the startups used to have to be relocated to be within like the accelerator location itself, we don't have that sort of expectation. All of our programs are online or also hosted virtual, such as this. Our sense of community is pretty expansive. We have a lot of former entrepreneurs who are, in fact, mentors and contributing their time and attention to our founding communities. We also have hands-on investors who are looking at these companies and considering to participate in the funding, as well as startup service providers and other accelerator programs also in our community. I definitely have the mentality that a rising tide rides all boats, and nor do I have any expectations that we know everything. But we definitely have an open door policy and participation as such. Now, as for our programs, our 4 programs can be easily divided into 2 different areas. 2 of them fix business problems and the startup themselves pay for it. And 2 of them provide funding to the startups where, in fact, we are sponsors and the investors pay for them. And very straightforward, very incremental sort of a program and payment. Now, as for our funding, traditional accelerators are working on a fund, and the accelerator itself figures out the distribution of the fund according to the companies that they've accepted into our cohort. We are completely different. We are creating an SPV package where BoomStartup does an investment and also packages other mentor investors' investments along with it in the SPV. And that's just because of our investment vehicle is very transparent and very, very flexible. Now, how are we doing this? Well, it's through our quarterly business survey. This is how we track the gains and the changes between the business. And then we also invite them into our funding program. Lastly, we are bringing back the demo day. And when the demo day is done, this is when we open the SPV investment to any outside accredited investors to participate so that the startups could even have an oversubscribed round. Now, how do we measure success? Earlier, I said that we're going to touch 1,000 founders this year. And in fact, we are on track in doing so. Well, lion's share, like approximately 900 of those 1,000, are going to be gaining a learning experience that it's going to improve their revenue resource or optimize their business finances or optimize their go-to-market execution. And this is a very important aha moment because not all businesses lead to funding, right? All businesses just need to land on cash. And so sales, of course, is king. And so that's exactly where we keep our focus and drive them towards. Now, about 10% of the company, like around 100, we're going to set up for what we call funding preparedness. And BoomStartup offers this as a service where we are vouching for the authenticity because, again, we're tracking their activities on a quarterly basis. And we're also setting up things such as like SPVs for their funding and also making sure like their incorporation documents are right, their pro formas are correct, etc. And it's a very, very important aspect, regardless if they receive funding from us or elsewhere. And then of course, 10%, like we'll probably invest in like, not 10%, excuse me, 1%, probably invest in 10 companies, their very first institutional round, such as, somewhere in the range between $35,000 and $100,000 for the pre-seed for approximately 10% of equity. Of course, each of these terms are going to vary depending on the deal and the company stage, as well as the sector and other market evaluations, so that we can figure out what's the right multiplier. The worst thing for us to do in this very first round is to overvalue it so that there is no such thing as a second follow round that's fully closed and committed. So how are we delivering all of this success? How are we creating this aha moment? Well, we're lucky. We're introducing all these new funding-oriented programs that are just really getting companies to be more formidable with their business strategy and approaches. Also, we're tracking the startup's business growth from a data side, and we're looking at the rate of change as well as comparing the companies on a performance basis within their sectors. We're also connecting with investors and doing a lot of monitoring for pre-seed investment patterns. Not only are we understanding other valuations, but we're also understanding the appetite for these early stage investors and to where they are. Because like I said, everything has changed post-COVID. And most importantly, the SPVs allow us to do very flexible and open investment rounds, which is very unusual for accelerators to go ahead and invite outside non-associated investors, but we do it. Okay, launching the 4 new programs at Boom. Here they are. The first is Pitch Up, and this is an open pitch competition. The second is OpenUp, and this is our platform that supports any startup at any stage online. And the third is RiseUp, and this is our 1-week deep dive led by an expert. And the fourth is Amplify Up, and this is our funding program. Now I'm going to explain Pitch Up. If you paid attention to BoomStartup back in February, we hosted our very first pitch competition. It was a wild success. We had almost 200 companies apply to participate, and they gave us their business brief and a demo video and their pitch deck. They did a fantastic job. Each of these winners won cash prizes and definitely received a whole bunch of notoriety. In fact, I've had several say that investors reached out to them and they got to work on their round, which is fabulous. We're going to be doing pitch up periodically, probably like 2 or 3 times a year. And it's just a fantastic way to supercharge the community and be inspiring. Now, OpenUp is our drop-in remote program that supports entrepreneurs across the globe. And this is, again, 100% free and open at any time for them to register. There are so many different benefits from doing this. First off, they can book one-on-one mentor meetings with experts such as yourself to come in and get some immediate help. Also, there's a marketplace where you as sponsors can put in offers geared and priced for startups. Plus, there's a business scorecard, which is free. It goes through 7 different areas of the business. Based on the scorecard is when we do recommendations as the additional marketplace offerings or course tutorials that people should take. Speaking of which, there's also a component where the entrepreneurs hold themselves accountable. There's a task tracker as well as a document tracker in there so that they can keep and stay on track as to how their business is growing. Plus, of course, there's the online course material, and we offer free expert-led webinars and Q&A sessions. On May 11th, in fact, is our next OpenUp free webinar session, and it's about intellectual property principles for innovators. So we're going to walk through basically the introduction behind this and also go into how to prepare and know when the right timing is for when it comes to protecting your IP. These sponsors for the OpenUp program are absolutely critical because they're bringing their startup experience and programs and just breaking it down so that anybody can learn and understand the sheer basics of it. Now, next program is RiseUp. RiseUp sprints are week-long engagements. They're entirely focused on helping startups, and it's connecting an expert that's known in their field with about 10 founders in their cohort, and they work pretty intensely for about a week. It takes probably around 6 to 10 hours of work. There's in fact a whole bunch of homework, and these are very private live interactions where it's a level of trust and collaboration, not only with the experts, but also with the people that are in the peer group. The outcomes are often an action plan and a measurement takeaway, and then there's a post-sprint follow-up within a few months after to see, in fact, if it was successful or not. And so again, as we track businesses on a quarterly basis, this is a great way to make sure that we're offering programs that make sense and help. And who are these mentors? We have about 80 on hand right now. And here are some of the presenters. In fact, these are the topics that are the ones that are driving change in business. For example, every single startup has got to have a really compelling video storytelling masterclass. So Rob Baggett is putting this together, and it's fantastic. People are going to write a script. People are going to figure out the perspective as to how to tell it, and then the sort of resources that they can actually afford to do it. Now, of course, they can hire Rob, or they can do it themselves, or hire anybody else. But that's the power of this class, is that just by putting some hours with Rob, they come away with an action plan that's going to be doable instead of oh yeah, we got to make that video, and it just keeps on getting pushed back. We also have very important classes that investors always talk about, such as your unit economic. And Patrick Hager is an expert in this field. He's also an investor. And Patrick's going to break down the financial statements and show exactly how the unit economics are derived from them. Then we have things such as building a credible investment ask, like how much money do you need and how are you going to spend it and how is it going to impact your business? Well, no better than Stephanie Sims to walk you through this, as she's a capital manager and thinker and just so fantastic when it comes to figuring out the right ask. We have William leading up social media growth hacks, which everybody can improve as their social media presence and their marketing. And then in June, we have mastering a 3-minute conversational pitch, unlocking creative genius, and also extending your cash flow. All of such are very, very important classes for entrepreneurs to take. Again, each of these classes will have about like 10 people participate as the limit, some of them even a little less. And the prices of the class go all the way up to like $300 as the highest price. Now, if you were to hire like an Amy or a Jan or a Kathy on their own, it would cost your company thousands of dollars. This is a great way to get, hours, 6 to 10 hours with this person, but for just a fractional cost, and figure out and put together a plan before going forward. Now, last program is the Amplify Up, and this is our funding program where we are going to be contributing between $35,000 and $100,000 for about 10% equity. The companies are hand-selected by Boom because we are vetting them, we are tracking their growth. And then the Amplify Up program is actually grooming them, not only with the sponsors, but also with the experts and the investors itself. And with the SPVs, we're allowed to set up a carve-out that matches the need of the startup. And then it takes a month to basically do the diligence. It closes on demo day and the investment window is then opened up. Now, our ask is that the hustle is not for the faint of heart. We really do expect a high level of commitment from every single person within our community. We expect a level of commitment. So if you say that you're going to do something, do something. And we also expect consistent updates. Everyone from the founders to investors to even sponsors, we understand that there's changes in business and capabilities. And we do periodically ping and ask about how things are going and expect that sort of response so that we can ensure the appropriate sort of engagement. We also expect feedback and honesty. As the market changes, as investment conditions change, and as business grows, or in fact, perhaps even shrink, we expect to hear this information because that allows us to hone our programs and offer better support. Of course, most importantly, it's self-accountability. Our platform and programs are designed so that when you sign up for things and you design your own plans, we're going to follow up to make sure that in fact you do what you say that you're going to do. And then our promise is that we're going to connect and guide from others who care and encourage startup success. We focus on learning opportunities that expand your network, tools, and comprehension. And we're going to build strong and competent founders. It's not the programs, it's the people behind the programs that in fact make this special. And by merging what we have on our online platforms with our data tracking and analytics, and most important, with the people behind the programs that have lived through funding, that have lived through company launches and mergers and acquisitions, these are the people that are going to strengthen the Boom Startup community.